the biggest one, to really feel that all it needs is my being, and coming back to that, and that there is nothing that I need that lies outside of myself and outside of my being. He also taught me a lot about allowance, like really allowing my feelings and my being and all the parts that I am, but in the same time also all that he's feeling. And I feel like that was actually one of the biggest, for me, allowance is freedom. There is nothing bigger than than this freedom when everything is allowed to be. And for a horse, it just feels the same. So they gift us this. It's like the gift they make to humanity. But then we humans, we come and we're like, you're not allowed to be stressed. You have to calm down. You're not allowed to feel this. You have to feel like this. It's just because we do this with ourselves, we do it with the horses. I feel like all that horses are offering us, it's just so beautiful to give it back to them, and especially allowance. And we can only give it back if we start allowing ourselves.
There are healers on this planet with the power to soften the suffering of mankind, yet they have remained in the recesses of the world, abused, discarded, and labeled as trash. This is The Touch of a Mustang. I am your host, Shalise Clough, and I'm here to tell the story of wild horses, Mustangs, and the humans who are discovering and sharing their gifts while working to protect their well-being and preserve their spirit, so this divine power won't be lost. Join us on this quest with the wild Mustang.
We were drawn to you because you just have these absolute gorgeous visuals, just a gorgeous presence in the online world, which is where we saw you with you and your life with horses.
Thank you for inviting me. And I'm living in Switzerland in the mountains on 2,000 meters height. And we live there with like a herd of 30 horses. And I love to offer their space for people to experience the medicine of horses. So it's like I started as a horse trainer when I was like quitting school and helped people finding deeper connection with their horses, and then continued into opening the space as well for people who don't have an experience with horses and just want to experience the field with them. So that's what we do up there. And it's like a very simple and basic life, really immersed into purity and freedom of living and being with them.
How beautiful to be able to offer that to others, because a lot of people don't have access to horses the way that we do. Is that herd entirely your horses?
No, so we have like a part of the horses belong to us, and then a part of
Okay.
the horses belong to other people. And it's horses. So we go high up in the mountains only for 4 to 5 months. And it's like horses who take like a time off of their normal life, like domesticated life, and just owners who really have this longing of gifting their horses freedom.
That's really beautiful. How did you first become involved with horses? Did you grow up with them? Did you discover them later?
They were actually next to my school. And for me, school was like really something I didn't I didn't feel comfortable in, as maybe some of you as well who are listening. And I just had this horse herd next to my school, and I just spent like all the time that I didn't have to sit in a classroom being with them, because I just could feel something that I was longing for with humans, but could not discover it there. And that's kind of like what brought me on the journey, because I really felt like it needs to be possible to live that as well in between humans and not only with horses. So they were kind of like opening the field and opening the door. And then when I was, I think, 10 years old, I got my first horse, and then the whole journey started in a much deeper way, of course.
So, who was this first horse and what was that experience like?
He was adventurous. He was like a very, very wild young horse. And he taught me so much. It was like I was also a very wild, untamed young little girl.
It's a good match.
And I was like falling off, and we were running around, and it was like a very free connection. Um, but also definitely a lot to learn for me, and really entering deeper into the field of what they have to offer for us. And he died actually very shortly after, some years. We didn't had a long time with him. And then my second horse came into my life, which is still in my life, which you might know from the social media, my white horse. And he just took me on a journey of deep freedom. Like that was the longing I carried in my being, like freedom. And he was kind of like the one guiding me into it.
Yeah, I think some of us are more sensitive to the structures that we're told to go into. And it seems like you were definitely one of those people where this is not working great for me. What was that process to go from kind of following the traditional path, going to school, to living this life with horses and being able to enter their world?
For me, it was more difficult to be in the world that was not belonging to me than actually doing the step of going out of it. So I never had a real job, like a real education or a real job in my life. Like I literally left school and became independent. So it was I never had to take this step of going out of the safety of our system. Or like I know it can be really challenging if you kind of like are in
You're
there and
used to
have
it.
to
Yeah, it's
leave it.
comfortable, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yes. So for me, that journey was a bit different, and it was then more about really feeling that this is that this is the gift that I carry to guide other people within that, and to not feel wrong in a world that feels very different.
So you're 10 years old, you got your first horse. And then when you got your second horse, how old were you? What were you doing? Were you still in school at that time?
Yes, I think I was 16 years old, around this. And I was still in school. And then shortly after school, I left with him and I went on an adventure. So I was like, for 4 to 5 years, we were traveling to different places and learning from people that I felt kind of drawn to or inspired by. So we were just like going to the places and living there. I worked there and I could stay there for free. So it was kind of like a work exchange. And in the same time, it offered me a lot of learning opportunities with a lot of young horses and horse training, and was like my years of learning with horses. And within that, I also kind of lost something that I had when I was younger, because I was like following this journey and there were like all those people kind of telling their truth and telling, okay, this is right and this is wrong and that's how you have to do it. And I lost this untamed, wild, free spirit that I had when I was younger when I was 10-year-old with my first horse. And I could just feel at one point my horse really clearly telling me, like, it's enough. You have to go home and you have to become empty and really feel again what comes out of you, because there's no way of creating connection with horses if it's not coming out of who we are. And I feel like this is one of the biggest how is the word in English for that, what goes wrong in this whole horse world. Like we're all telling each other what is right and wrong, but like really guiding people. And this is then also what became my mission, to feel again, who am I? What is born out of me? Because horses, the only thing they want is you. Like they literally come for you. And to get that out of you again. So for me, this was the journey after of letting go of all that knowledge and all that training. It was important to kind of like experience it and accumulate it so I could learn how to release it again and how to come back to my being. And to, I feel like that's also when the relationship really started changing with my horses, when I got like just much more um, into a freedom-based connection.
I think that's something a lot of people experience, where you feel that internal connection to horses. So you try and create a life with them, and then you get in the horse world. And like you said, there's a lot of rules and absolutes, and this is the way you have to do things. And I think a lot of us can kind of feel that might not be the best way, but it's hard to know where to go from there. And so, what gave you that courage? And was that process difficult at all to kind of, it's like, I just spent all this time learning all this stuff. Now I'm going to, undo it and kind of go back to square one to see what is true for me and for my horses.
I feel like it was, of course, it was challenging at times, but my horse was just kind of like guiding me through it. So it was really just about listening to him and learning from him, what he's inviting me into it, because he was a very difficult horse, had a huge trauma going on from his past, the past place where he lived. And during all those years of horse training, I never came to the point where he felt like he was really himself. He never felt really in his he was not calm, he was not feeling in his strength. It was like something was off. And so I was just asking, like, what is going on? Like, we can do all those tricks and dressage and liberty, but the depth is not there. And also just the deeper, just feeling that he's really standing in his power and in his essence. And I could always feel there is more. And he was kind of like the one then guiding me into, come back to who you are. Only then I can be who I am. Because I think that's the point. The horse comes in our life, like with a specific, like with a certain essence, and we hold an essence. And those two parts, those two essence fits perfectly together. And I feel like horses always call us home to that, so that they can be home within that as well. And the moment I followed it and I just kept listening to him and really kept listening to myself, and it just made it all so much more simple. And I feel like that's something that I was really longing to, because it felt so complex. I feel like the horse world can be so complex. It's like it's probably the whole world, but there's so much complexity
Yeah.
around, where horses are actually so simple beings. And yeah, I feel like that was the invitation and the path we went.
That's interesting when you say it that way, that we do bring a lot of complexity to it, trying to figure it out. And like you say, horses' lives and needs are very simple, very basic. What is your horse name that you have now?
So I have Destacado and
Oh, yeah, I'm
Yamila.
not going to get those right.
Yeah. And yeah, some others that are partly
What are
mine.
the other ones? Yeah, go ahead. Tell me their names, though. I love that.
Yamila, Kilimanjaro, Cleo, and Kafsai are part of our herd.
Oh, beautiful. So with your white horse, the one that's been with you since you were 16, what is his name? I'll try, but I'll slaughter it.
Destacado.
Descot.
You
Okay,
can
I'll
just
just
call
let
it
you say it.
Descot.
Descot. Okay, I can do that.
Descot. Yeah.
What are some of the lessons that he taught you as you started to listen to him?
I feel like the one that I just shared was definitely like the biggest one, to really feel that all it needs is my being, and coming back to that, and that there is nothing that I need that lies outside of myself and outside of my being. He also taught me a lot about allowance, like really allowing my feelings and my being and all the parts that I am, but in the same time also all that he's feeling. And I feel like that was actually one of the biggest, for me, allowance is freedom. There is nothing bigger than this freedom when everything is allowed to be. And for a horse, it just feels the same. So they gift us this, like to all of us. It's like the gift they make to humanity. But then we humans come and we're like, you're not allowed to be stressed. You have to calm down. You're not allowed to feel this. You have to feel like this. It's just because we do this with ourselves, we do it with the horses. But I feel like all that horses are offering us, it's just so beautiful to give it back to them, and especially allowance. And we can only give it back if we start allowing it to ourselves. So for me, I feel like that was definitely one of his biggest teachings, what it means to truly allow. And that was also kind of what changed from all the previous trainers I went who tried to change his behavior and tried to change his being and change his feelings, because he was not so calm. He was very wild. So they were like, calm down, put your head down, relax, like all of these things. But that's like, for a horse, this will never touch the root cause. It will never lead back into essence. And I feel that's something that I would really love the horse world to feel and to experience in a different way. What happens if we start to allow the horse to feel that? So, for example, if a horse has stress, to say, okay, you have stress right now. Like, of course, there are certain boundaries, like don't run into my space and don't go off, like things to keep us safe. But
Yeah.
I will allow him to feel stressed and trust in his process to come back into calmness. When he can do that, and when he has the resonance point within me, there is like deep change and transformation that can happen. So very often we don't want that a horse feels something, because we don't want to feel what it does to us when the horse feels this. So when he has
Yeah.
stress, it might trigger fear in me, and I don't want to feel the fear. So I'm telling him, be calm down, that I don't have to feel the fear. So
Mm.
if I now start to kind of like go into that and allow myself to feel what I feel when he has stress, and I offer allowance to both of us, we can become freer on a deeper level. And through that, true calmness can arise. I think only through that. Like, no method and no technique will ever go to that depth. So you can be free with a horse, and not having to control them.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that terminology also, because I think we have different ways of kind of saying this is what you should do, but it's pretty hard to let go of control and to not think like, no, I'm supposed to be like XYZ and the horse is supposed to act like this when I do this. So I love that idea of allowance, of allowing each of you to be who you are, and learning to work together with that instead of trying to fit into different boxes or to wear different masks that are what we think it's supposed to be. How did that change your relationship once you started opening up to that idea of allowance, of allowing yourself to be who you were and allowing him to also be who he was?
I mean, for me personally, it was a lot of healing, and it is still, I feel like allowance is probably the masterpiece of our life. Like, for me, this is
Yeah.
literally, it means softening. And like, for me, softening is really what awakening is about. So I know it will be something that will accompany me through my whole life. And I only, touched a small part of what it really means to soften and to allow, in that depth that we humans are possible to live in. And so it was very healing. And in the same time, for our relationship, it was also just freeing. Like, we literally, I think that was, if I could only say one or two things, that would definitely be one of the things that helped me come into freedom with him. Um, because, like I said, like, techniques and methods will never invite you into that depth. And we need depth in order to have a free connection with our horses. So, and also just for him, I think it was like a big gift I could give him back. Living like so many years in a world surrounded by people telling him that he's wrong and that he feels that he should feel different, and then being able to kind of like come into a different field was also very healing for him. So we both healed parts of ourselves throughout that journey and are still, of course.
Yeah, I can only imagine how that would feel to finally just be okay with things as they are, instead of trying to change them. Did you find that that also changed your perspective of life in general to just be open to allowing things to be what they were?
Definitely. I mean, for me, literally, there is no difference in between horses and life. So,
Yeah.
and I feel like also, again, that's one of the misbeliefs there is in the horse community or in the horse world. We focus so much on our horses, but like literally, life and horses are one. Like there is no difference. And the moment we like start to kind of broaden our perspective and really open up to life, I mean, that's for me, that's the reason why horses are as well in our lives and serving us in that depth, because it's so much more about life than about them. I mean, all that he's been teaching me, and probably for you, I mean, everyone who is listening and who has horses, it goes so much deeper than the
Yeah.
moment we are together with our horse. So it's really about how can we integrate the teachings and the insights we get from the time being with horses into our lives, and what are they inviting us into?
How did that process look like when you started doing that, when you started letting go of the techniques and the rules and you just kind of started going into we're gonna see where this goes? What was the beginning of that like, and how did that develop over time?
Actually, I don't remember when I hear the question. I don't really remember how it was. I feel like
Okay.
it, I mean, it was also not like this, the shift of I click a button and then everything was different. So it was like a gradually um, moving path. So it felt kind of natural. Also for me, I feel like that's something I can share. Is it's just it was very fascinating, and I'm a person, I love to grow, and I love to meet the places I do not feel free, and to kind of get in contact with them. So when I started realizing that how many parts I would not allow him to feel something because I was afraid to feel, like I was really getting in touch with those moments and kind of wanted to explore them. And I was very curious to meet those parts of me and to free in the same time those parts.
As you kind of said, life and horses are so interconnected, and I think that's a huge thing for us in life, that we're so scared of the way we feel, the way other people feel, that we just become frantic to avoid those things and create a lot of pain and discomfort because of it, instead of just, embracing some of the hard, scarier, more difficult emotions.
And I feel like it's that's the whole invitation from life and from horses, that we experience ourselves in all of those parts we are, and also that we really live who we are. And this we can do with our horse by following our impulses and by following our intuition and getting connection with our body and our being. But if we do this in life, it's all also about living our purpose and living what we came here for and being true to who we are. And I mean, this in the end is like a much bigger field than the time we're with our horses. So if we practice this in life and in all the moments we are not with our horses, it will deeply change the moments we are together with our horses. So I feel like there's so much power there, and to explore.
Yeah. Do you have advice on what people can do to start realizing that? I feel like a lot of us look externally for what we should do, what path we should follow, who we should become, what we should do when we graduate or go to college or whatever the next step is. And so it can be really hard to even, like, if someone asks you, what's your purpose? People may not have any idea, or what do you feel drawn to? They may not even know because they are busy following the path that's been laid out before them pretty clearly, and the external voices that are telling them, go to school, get a job, all those things. What advice do you have for people who might not have a clear way of, like, I don't even know how to tap into that to start listening to my internal feelings?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, it's important to first understand that our purpose is never like something that we are here to do, but really just being ourselves. And I feel like this is something we can practice in all those little moments where we have the chance to just tap in with our body and our being and see, how does this actually feel for me? So, for example, if someone tells you, send your horse back when it comes into your space, how does this actually feel for me right now? Just to keep connecting with our being or our body or our intuition, however you want to call it, and feel, how does it actually feel for me? So you get to know yourself better, and in all those small moments, I feel like that's for sure a very big part, to just not immediately follow when someone says something, but to really ask the question, how does it feel for me? And then following impulses is something we can train. Because for me, like, living my purpose means simply following impulse after impulse. So it's like, um, and this is something I can train. So, like, a lot of people, they don't hear this anymore, but we can go, for example, out in the forest and say, okay, I go now for a 1 hour walk and I just follow my impulse, where my body is guiding me. What do I want to do? Do I want to sit down here with a tree? Do I want to relax? Do I want to walk? Do I want to run? Do I want to go through the bushes? Like, whatever do I want to explore? But it's like really getting in contact again with what is coming out of us. So that's just two little, I feel like, parts in our life where we can train it and explore it and really just feel, how does it feel for me?
Yeah, that's great advice, and because they are very simple, very doable. It's not
Yeah.
like you need to quit your job and move into a tent or something. Things
No.
that you can
But I
just do
mean,
in your
it's
yeah.
definitely super powerful. Like, I feel like going on an adventure, like, is always a good way, just like stepping out. Like, for me, I also had to step out of the knowledge world and kind of
Mm,
be with myself in order to hear myself again. But if you don't have the possibility, that's also fine. You can do it in very small little parts of our life. We have hundreds of possibilities
yeah,
each day. But also going on an adventure is always like amazing. Just taking a backpack and going out is a beautiful experience to come closer with our nature and our being. And I feel
yeah.
like our what is also very important, like, our purpose, or what we are here to bring into this world, is something that is very natural to us. And I feel that's why very often people don't feel it, because it's so natural. It's like we
Mm,
don't think it's something special. It's
mm,
like, for example, for
yeah,
me, being was always very simple. It was always very natural to me just to be, but I would not realize that it's something special for other people. And then I had to kind of like see that from a different perspective. So I could feel, aha, this is something I can offer to this world. And
mm,
this is something that a lot of people need. So just to say, our gifts are very often something that is very natural because they come out of us. They don't come out of like the outside world.
yeah. No, and that's so beautiful because, um, especially in the American culture, it's very goal driven. And so we almost don't even think about how I feel about it. It's what is the end goal? Where am I headed? Even like, I think just when you were talking about a hike, even on a hike, a lot of times, it's like you have a destination that you are intending to go to. So just the idea of leaning into more of, who are you? And like you said, what are your gifts? Because I do think that's something that's certainly not talked about a whole lot. We might say, what are you good at? I guess. And maybe in that way. But to kind of think, yeah, where are places that I maybe see or do differently than other people, and it works well. And do you have any other ideas of how people can come to identify some of the gifts that they might have when it's something that is very innate and natural and built in, so it might be a little bit harder to figure out?
I feel like it's literally just an unfolding that happens naturally the moment we start to choose more for ourselves. Like when we start to take these little steps and really follow what feels right for our being, our gifts
Mhm.
will unfold. But also, our gifts unfold the moment we own who we are. And I feel like that's also a very, very important point because very
Yeah.
often we don't really own who we are. Like the shadow side, but also the light side, like both of it, like really owning it and being like, okay, this is who I am. So first is about feeling who I am, and then it's about this is who I am. And from there, my gifts can unfold. I don't have to think about it or like know my gifts. It's something that will naturally happen the moment I follow my being and I start to own it. At least that's how I see it. It's something that happens naturally. And also joy. Like I feel like joy and or like this word enthusiasm. Um,
Mhm.
I feel like uh, this that's an energy that's so good to follow. What is literally bringing me joy, as well when I'm with
Mhm.
horses. Not only in like in life and with horses. Where do I feel like my spirit, my being comes alive and becomes light up?
Mhm.
This is always something I have to follow. And the same you said about the ways, like when we go for a walk, when you said it, I just thought about it. It's like we have all those paths laid out for us. So there's already like literally, at least I don't know how it is in America, but here in Europe, we have like walking paths and you follow them. And there's like
Yeah.
signs where you have to go. So people don't have to use their intuition anymore. But you
Yeah.
can just choose to step left or right and go a different path. And then the moment you do this, you have to kind of like get in contact with your intuition again. So that's also a very fun thing to do with horses, to choose to not follow the path.
And I think that is a big barrier to kind of having that relationship with horses because a lot of people, myself included, would go out with horses and have an agenda, have something I wanted to do, a place I wanted to go, or a goal to meet. And so that is a very different experience from just going out and being with them.
Yeah, and I feel that's super interesting in that moment to ask yourself why. Why is there an agenda? Why do you have a goal?
Yeah.
But literally reflect on it. Like, I feel like that can be super powerful because very, very often it's something much deeper from our being and maybe even from our childhood.
Yeah. And I do think it can go back a lot of times to the scripts that we hear. There's a thing that you'll often hear, like, why would you have a horse if you're not riding on it? What is the purpose then? And anyone who's spent time just being with a horse can see like there is purpose and beauty without having to get on them and accomplish something. And not to say that if someone wants to do that, that might not be great, but that doesn't have to always be present for sure.
Yeah. I feel like again here we can think about, oh, should I now ride my horse or should I do groundwork? Or in the end, nothing of all of it is bad if it's who you are, like if
Hmm.
it's coming out of your true being.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I love riding. I don't think, I'm not part of the people who think riding is something bad.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just like whatever you do, even if you choose to do competition with your horse, if it comes out of your pure being and joy, for sure you got the horse that has joy in this as well. And otherwise it's not your pure being and not your truth. So that's what I mean with horses will always lead us back to where we belong. For example, my horse, I was like with this French riding master in high classical dressage in a like an internship, and I really thought I want to learn dressage now and kind of develop that into a higher level. And he was just he was not happy within that because I would
Mm.
never be happy within that. If I
Mm-hmm.
would be really happy in that, he would have found joy in it. That's what I meant,
Mm.
like our essence belong together. Like that's the magical thing, no? If you think about it, how a horse finds his human and they match in such a incredible depth together. It's amazing.
Yeah. And then I think the opposite of that is when you do see a lot of that tension and conflict when we're fighting against that. Um, and I think a huge part of that is, like you've mentioned, fighting against your true self, your true essence, and who you really are. And I think it can be scary to accept it because we have this need to feel belonging from other people. And so a lot of times we try to mimic that and be who we think other people probably want us to be. And that can be a totally different person, probably, than I mean, I'm not anywhere close to where you are. I'm definitely like struggle with that of just, yeah, trying to be the image and the person that you've been told so long that you should be. I think a lot of that tension comes from just that idea that we're supposed to be something specific and we're almost fighting who we innately are.
Yeah. And I mean, it's literally in the end, it's all about value. Like, and just like to not give a wrong impression, I also struggle in so many ways. I think it's just human, you know,
Yeah.
like literally here to explore and learn and grow and becoming strongly rooted in our value. That's such a deep and um very often also very challenging journey. And it's interesting, like you said, we kind of long for to belong, and then we change ourselves in hope we would belong. But how
Yeah.
would that, I mean, that's not true belonging anymore if we're not who we are. So actually it's super paradox, what we try to do with ourselves.
Yeah, it is.
And life will literally only be able to answer with true belonging the moment you are who you are. It's like I always have this picture inside of myself, like when I'm really coming back to who I am. It's like I become I come back to my center, and it's like I am the sun again. And when I'm the sun, when I'm really on my place and on who I am, everything else starts going around. You know, it's like the planets start to go around the sun. So this is always like my inner picture. So I really try to feel,
Mm.
where do I leave myself? Like for
Yeah.
me, that's a very powerful question. Where do I leave myself?
Yeah, that is a beautiful visual because I think you could just almost see how, as you become who you are, the essence of who you are, like you said, you can almost see that alignment unfold, it sounded like.
Yeah. And I mean, literally, probably most of the people who are listening here, they have a connection to horses. And this is
Yeah.
such a huge gift in our life. Like we have a horse in our life. We can like really learn from them and start
Yeah.
to listen to them, open up to who they really are. And it's the same. Like start spending time with your horse and really get to know who are they really behind the stories that you tell yourself they are, you know, like what are they really representing, truly representing for you. And I feel by starting to see who they are, we can then also start to see who we are, because like I said, it belongs together. So I feel like that's a super beautiful like simple practice to do as well, if you're home, to really take the time to meet your horse, and who they are.
Very powerful because horses don't necessarily reject or accept us based on how we present ourselves. They more just respond, I guess you could say. So it's a little different from maybe the human world where maybe people will distance themselves from us if they, don't think that we're someone who aligns with them or whatnot. But a lot of times horses are there and just I guess you could say more want to know who we are than anything else, or maybe not even want to know, but are just more aware of who we are without all the stuff we're trying to hide. They just can feel it a little more deeply because it's more of a energetic connection.
Definitely. And I feel like if you want to make them a gift, it's literally about opening up to this. Because like you said, they're in our life and they know who you are. They know like your whole being. And they're just so patiently next to our side, waiting for us to come back home. And this for thousands of years. I mean, this is literally something that touches me very deeply to feel for how many years horses have been next to humans' side, trying to help them remember and come back home. So like a lot of people always want to do something good for the horse, and then they buy this supplement and they go on this clinic and do this course. But literally, there is nothing more beautiful to give to your horse than starting to come closer in contact with your being, with who you are.
And you're right. We try so hard to put things in their life when really they would probably prefer we strip things away and just, like you have mentioned, just be there.
And I feel like, if we literally, every one of us has the feeling, if we take the time, like, who is actually my horse? And we really take the time to feel it and start to trust in our perception. And so, for example, okay, this horse is really representing inner softness or inner peace. And then what does this has to do with me and my life? And where can I integrate this feeling that he can make me feel? Because if I enter his field, so if for example, there's a horse that really represents compassion, like a deep peace and deep understanding, and I sit next to him, I can enter the field he's living in. Like, it's just by starting to understand and opening up to him. And if I now can take this into my life, this insight, and integrate it into my life and my being and see, okay, because I could feel it, and it's not just a talk. Someone tells me, yeah, you have to be more compassionate. It's difficult to be if
Yeah.
I don't
How?
feel it. Yeah, but that's the beauty about horses, and you will have at home the exact perfect horse for what you need to integrate in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a lot right there. Just the idea that horses have walked with us for so long, I think that does almost give you chills because you have to almost wonder why do they want to be with us? Why do they have that willingness? Especially when a lot of times as humans, we bring things into their life that aren't necessarily to their benefit. And yet they're still there, patient and forgiving as we figure it out along the way. And so that's pretty incredible. And then also that idea that as we are able to drop the facade of who we're being for everybody else and move into our real being, I think that opens up that space for us to develop those other things that the horses bring into our lives. Like you said, compassion or even just different traits that maybe wouldn't come naturally do start to come more naturally. What are you guys doing now with your horses? So you moved into this different way with your personal horse and have kind of been able to move into this life where you're, living. I mean, it looks amazing. I don't know how to describe it, but just go look at your videos. And I think that is a really good description. Just a really, I would say, aligned life with horses and with what you have felt in your life. I think that's certainly a gift that you were able to listen to your intuition in that way and not push it down, which is a very easy thing to do. Where did things go for you from there once you started living a different way with horses?
Mm. So I just love to, I think for me, my being, like I said, is like, I love to be free.
Mm.
And I feel like this is what I love most exploring with horses now. So um, we go a lot just out for walks with the herd and have them free in freedom. Only the young one, the ones who are like still learning. They're also on the halter, but we just explored the world together and lived together. And I love also riding, and I love going out alone with my white horse and go like, yeah, I mean, we do many things. It's literally just exploring life and walking and going out on journeys and riding. And but the main point is definitely in freedom and in relationship with each other and in mutual respect. And I love to be with them. I love to drop deeper into what they have to share with me and listen to, and create offers like with their help. Like my horse is very often inspiring me to create something for humanity as well. So it's like a lot of things we're doing in this way. And I also love to explore, like I love, I don't know how to describe it, but I also love this kind of like dancing feeling with horses, and also under me, and like a strong inner center, and what can happen if you feel proud and centered. And so I also love to explore that, and in different ways. But it's always about also seeing, okay, what does my horse represent, and where do we what does really fit to us. Yeah. And then if you have several horses, with each horse it can be a bit different, like what they like to do and what they feel joy about, and where I feel joy in.
I think that is something that everybody is probably longing for, to find freedom. And so I think a lot of the things you said are just perfect ways to start moving towards more freedom, to finding that path that's meant to be for you. So that's really beautiful. You mentioned that you're going to be coming to the States and working with wild horses. You want to tell us a little bit about that? That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm super excited because I never met wild horses actually, and for me it's going to be a first time. Me and my partner Matthias Geisen, we're gonna host an immersion in Dakota in the beginning of June. It's like from an amazing woman, Anushka. She founded this project where they try to preserve the Nakota breed, which is like they just could kind of like how do you say, finance the transmit from 30 horses on 600 not acres, it's in Europe we call it hectare. It's like the double amount of acres. I'm not sure how it's called in English.
Yeah.
But it's like a huge piece of land, and they can live there in freedom and are preserved now through this project. And we are going to immerse ourselves with 8 participants into the field and learn about the connection with them and what we can learn from them, and just literally what I talked about in this podcast now, we're going to explore there in real life. And it's also going to be an amazing adventure with meeting the ancient people and the bond they have with the land and with the horses there. It was like Lakota land the horses were living on and are living on. And yeah, I'm super excited to meet and to explore and go on this adventure. It's just remembering to who we are in our nature and in our origin, and meeting those horses in their wild and natural state.
No, that sounds
And
amazing. And
there is going to be we're going to film a documentary about the whole event.
Good.
So the whole event will be filmed by an amazing woman, Lola, who will create a documentary movie to really tell the story of those horses, and also the connection of human and horses and the bond in between.
Oh, yeah. I think that's going to be an amazing experience. I'll definitely be keeping my eye out for the documentary and the visuals of that, because there's something really incredible about the wild horses that haven't, maybe been in contact with humans and dealt with some of our issues so closely and had to navigate our world so much. So that'll be really incredible to see.
I feel like that's the beauty of meeting them, because they literally, at least that's how I feel now. I would be curious to explore it, but I feel like they're just gonna touch the parts in us that were like the pure and the original parts of who we are before all the conditioning and all the masks and all the beliefs and all the restraint. I feel like it's something that will just happen by being in their presence because they embody it.
I can't wait to see what that experience is like for you because just my experience with horses who did used to be wild, they really do have um, just very, it's hard to describe. They're just very attuned with the world around them and with you and what's going on with you. And their responses are, yeah, a little bit different than domestic horses who have maybe learned a little bit more to tamp them down or to contain them. A lot of wild horses, especially the ones people say are difficult, and even just difficult horses in general, I think it's because they have fought a little bit harder against the human world entering there so heavily.
Amazing. I'm super, super excited.
And what other things do you guys do there in Switzerland or other areas of the world?
Um, so we do retreats in the mountains, a few each year, and we both have like a year group like journey. So this is like people who really want to journey deeper throughout the whole year. I'm journeying only with women, so it's all about what we just talked and really coming back to why we came here and starting to follow that path.
Yeah, I love that. I think that certainly gets lost in as we're trying to survive in the new different way in the world, and in a way that is also often cluttered with a lot of things that aren't essential. And in that process, a lot of times I think that we lose that point that our purpose is to be here to some extent and to explore this life, and we get so caught up in like the next goal or what am I supposed to be, where am I supposed to go. And so I love that idea of just being a little bit more still, maybe listening a little bit more to some of that internal dialogue that we each have. And a lot of times I think we're like, oh, that seems crazy, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, and I feel like, it's just so important to realize that we all have something very important to give, like each one of us. And I feel like because you asked this question that just comes now as a additional thought, how can we unfold our gifts? And it's by changing the narrative in the first place of I don't know what I'm here to give into I have something special to offer. I might not know it, but I
Mm,
know that I have something to offer. And it's literally, I mean, there is no one else in this whole world who is designed as you are, with all the past stories and experiences of this life and lifetimes before, if you believe in that. You're like perfectly created to bring something that is missing right now on this planet. And I feel like that's just really the invitation of this life, to say yes to that and to start bringing it into it. And that does not always has to be something big and huge that I do, like a external big event or whatever. It can be very simple and very small as well, in a way small. It just means I give my being into this world, who I am. But I know that I have something to give that no one else can bring, only me. And it's like, when I started, I was afraid sometimes and being like, what if I'm not good enough? I mean, that's a belief I feel like we all know. And then
yeah.
my dad, amazing father, he said, Chiara, if you don't do that, it's like, I don't know the word in English, but um how can I explain it? It's like if you drive on the street and there is an accident and you just pass, you don't stop. Even if you see that the people need help, there's a word for that in my language, but I don't know how to say it
Mm,
in English.
yeah, I
It's
don't
like
know
you
if we have a word for it.
you choose to not help, but
Hmm.
you could help. And he said, Chiara, if you don't do what you do, this is what you're like, this is it. So it really shifted my way of thinking, because I realized actually it's not so much about me. It's much more about me
Mm,
giving myself into it for the greater picture, because it needs my peace.
that's also beautiful. And just the idea that we each do have a place in this world where we're needed, whether that's some place that's just on a smaller scale, or some, other things that no matter what that is, that there's people there who are needing our presence in this world. I think that's really beautiful. The other really powerful thing that you shared for me is that it is just one small step at a time. It's just changing one small thing at a time, one small thought, even like you just pointed out, or just deciding one day, I'm going to go and just be with the horses today. Or today, I'm just going to set aside 10 minutes to just, try to feel that internal change, or to go on that walk without any destination in mind, to just wander and to feel again. I think in our world it's really easy to not feel. There's a lot to anesthetize us to that, to make it so that we don't have to feel our emotions, good or bad, and we can, quickly go to those places. But by doing that, we do lose a lot of who we are. And so, um, just kind of going back to the idea that we started with, is just like allowing yourself to feel again, and to honor that, and to then start to even listen to that.
Yeah, beautifully put together.
Well, thank you so much for being here, for sharing so much of your experience and so much of your wisdom. I think courses are some of the greatest teachers, so it's really a privilege for me to connect with other people who it's like, oh, you felt that too. And then also to, be able to talk about some of the things that they have learned from them. I will definitely go away from this, with a lot of things that I feel like I can take and use, just, and like I said, in those small little places where it's like, oh, well, just make this adjustment, and just kind of see what that's like. Um and then also, I think just what you said about being ourselves is so powerful. I think so many of us are afraid to be ourselves, afraid that um people won't like us anymore, or we won't have our place in the world. And I think, as you've talked, the reality is that it's quite the opposite, that we lose our ability to help people, to serve people, and in turn to find ourselves and to feel our purpose, and to learn about ourselves and who we are. So thank you for being here, and so much for all the things that you have shared.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and the beautiful questions and the space you open, and also just like that you follow this calling to open this discussion with people and talks and create those spaces. It's so very beautiful. It was a pleasure to be here, and I just wish everyone who's listening to really make this life we have a little bit more simple, and to just feel our being again, and who we are, and how does it feel for me, like, and to really start following that. So definitely pleasure to be here and to talk to you. Thank you so much for the
Yeah,
invitation.
I love that. And yes, also a great point is just the simplicity. A lot of the things that you shared are simple but powerful, I think. And kind of on that note, how can people find you, follow you, connect with you, if they're interested in things like the retreats, or able to make those? Where can they find all that information?
So I have an Instagram channel which is called Grow with Horses, with like underline in between the words, Grow with Horses. And I have like a website which is chiara-maria.com. And there you find also always my offers and the things I offer. And in Instagram, I just love to share inspiration and thoughts and take you a little bit into my world.
Yeah. And I would highly encourage everyone to at least follow you, because it is just absolutely gorgeous. And it is just like you say, like, you can go into that world with horses that's very peaceful and connected. You can, I think, feel that connection through the videos and experiences you share. So it's a really beautiful place to go, especially for people who love horses, and and want to maybe see what could be possible with you and your horse. Because I know I look on there and it definitely inspires me. I go, I want to do that. I want to be loping, through the forest carefree with no anxiety is what it all looks like to me. It's just absolutely beautiful.
Thank you for joining us and learning about horses that heal and the humans who help them. We hope you'll continue with us on this journey. We'd love for you to subscribe on your favorite platform and follow The Touch of a Mustang on any of the major social media outlets. Please share with your friends, anyone who loves horses, or anyone who might be struggling and could benefit from this message. If you have felt the healing power of horses or help them in their divinely appointed mission, please reach out. We want to hear your story. As we say goodbye, always remember that the horse is always there to help you heal.